Hey guys, my name is Betterbrick Studios, and we all know Drift. He's an iconic character from the IDW comic book series, and he's one of the original characters that they first made, aside from just using the same old characters. He has a really iconic name and vehicle mode, so I thought, why not throw that all out, make him into a jet, and see how cool it is. And it is pretty cool. So, let's take a look at it. So, here he is in his vehicle mode. And as you can see, it isn't the normal drift car. It's just a jet. And I have it on a stand right now because he can't lay flat on the ground. Also, I have his swords separate because I don't have anywhere to store them in vehicle mode. But let's take a closer look here. His front is pretty wide compared to the rest, but that's because I had to turn this all into his shoulders and fit his arms in there. He has really cool looking engines here. I like the way they look. They don't look so good from the back, and underneath you can see he's got a windshield chest piece. He's got his head underneath, which is the main reason why he can't lay flat. And his tail fin likes to fall off, but only if you aren't careful with it. Also, in the middle here, it bends because things don't properly tab in, or there isn't really anything to tab it in at the front, so it's kind of just left to flop around, which can be difficult to manage at times. So overall, his vehicle mode isn't the best, but his robot mode is definitely a lot better. For size comparisons, here we have Warpath, Grapple, Ultra Magnus, and my two other Drift figures. On to robot mode. To transform Drift is actually pretty complex and involves a lot of things that just barely get past one another in order to transform. And that's mainly because of the rushed build that this was, which left a lot of things unpolished. So to start off, just gonna pull up the wings here and start work on the legs. These will untab here and swing out to the side. And then for the feet, you're just gonna take this, rotate it around and put it here. This whole section on a ball joint will twist around. Then what I do is I pull the legs forward. These wings, I hinge them as far out of the way as possible from this tail fin. This folds up, rotates, and goes around. This is very complex to do because I forgot to add the tail fin when I was first making this guy. Okay, next you're gonna fold up that. Then with the waist, fold the legs back down. These wing parts will go to the side and be like side skirt pieces. And then this bar here will attach to this clip to solidify the torso. This tail fin goes up and tabs in like so. And that just helps solidify it more and keeps it from falling off. Now, you gotta angle these wing parts, and then the back wings are going to hinge around, and you line them up with the side wings to create a kind of a trench coat looking appearance. Now to get work on the arms, which are actually pretty difficult, I'm going to take and split them apart up here. Take the arms. Here, these are going to hinge back like this. You can flip out the hand. And then this part hinges behind the head. I'm gonna take this and untab it from here. This hinges around. Fold this over. Take this brick and align it like that so you can fold the arm back. And this whole thing twists around and the brick tabs back into the shoulder to help secure it. And there you have one arm done. And you do the exact same thing on the other side. And now for the head, you're going to take these minifigure hands, fold them up. Then we're going to hinge the head forward and rotate it around. And here he is in robot mode. And obviously I did have to use a fake window chest to give him his classic appearance. But I also planned this out beforehand, so I knew where each part was going to go to match where an actual part would be in his IDW appearance. In IDW, on the shoulders, he has the front of the car, or at least with the toy, he has the front of the car as the shoulders. I used the cockpit instead. With the side skirts, it's the doors of the car, but I used the back wings, and then I used the side wings, which are the bigger ones, to finish it off into this trench coat kind of look. Then you got the tail fin. It's just kind of placed on the back because I didn't have any other good place to put it. Then you have rocket boosters inside of the trench coat, and I imagine he can use this for some extra boosted jumps so that he can get to higher places without using that much energy. His legs kind of look nice in my opinion. The insides aren't that much detailed, but the outsides do have some nice molding. On this leg, I'm pretty sure this part here is kind of breaking, so it doesn't look as good. And same thing on this side, which is unfortunate that it happens with Lego, but it's just a consequence of building. With the head sculpt, I put minifigure hands to replicate his kind of swooshed back, spiky head design. He doesn't actually have like a visor or eyes built in. It's kind of just implied that this gray part here is. And I really like how it turned out. It's accurate enough without being way too overly detailed. And I think it fits well with the rest of the overall design. So I think this is pretty decent. Although it does have a hard time standing. For accessories, he comes with 2 of these normal silver swords. And then he comes with 1 of these big swords with this crystal in the middle. I actually used a pretty cool technique to get this all to work together and not be too overly bulky. And it worked out pretty well in my opinion. I don't know what this sword is supposed to mean or what it does because I haven't been able to read the IDW comics. But it's a pretty recognizable sword for Drift, so I knew I had to include it. To store the weapons, these small swords will just plug into his side skirts. like this, and I think those look pretty cool. And then for the big sword, I like to take the gold stud and plug it in just so that the more yellow one is showing. So that's how you store the weapons, and if you want them to be wielding the weapons, they just clip into the hands with these bars here, and they look pretty good in my opinion. Let me just grab the big sword here, and he can dual wield whichever combination of weapons you want. You could just do 2 gray swords, or 1 of each sword, or you could do just 1 sword. It depends on what you want to do, but most of the time I have him dual wielding these silver swords, or just holding the 1 big sword. Articulation time. Starting with the head, it goes left to right, and it can look down full 360, and you can pose the little antenna thing on top. Then for the shoulders, those go out and in, full 360 rotation. At the elbow, it's got 2 different joints here, mainly for transformation. I use this bottom joint here most of the time, but if I want to perform more dynamic movements with the elbow, you can use the other one. He's got kind of a wrist pivot, which isn't really helpful for posability, but it's there. Nothing at the waist and no kind of ab crunch. Although I could have probably incorporated it, considering there's a lot of hinges in the torso where I could use that. The hips are just ball jointed, but you can't go that far back because of the trench coat thing, although you can just move it out of the way if you want to. So it's ball jointed here. So it goes forward, back, out, and in. The knees are also ball jointed, so you get a 90-degree and a swivel. And then at the foot, it's awkwardly positioned on a ball joint, which is mainly just for transformation, and you can't really use it for posability. So he is pretty posable, but not too posable. You still can get some pretty striking poses, such as this, and this. For size comparisons, here we have Warpath, Grapple, Ultra Magnus, and my other drift figures. So that just about sums up him and his vehicle mode. Now we're gonna get to the conclusion. With Drift, I had a really fun time building and designing it, and it just goes to show how much more fun it can be if you just make a slight change in the design, such as making Drift into a jet. And that's why I really like this guy. He manages to capture the look and the essence of Drift without being too different and still being unique in his own way. I have been Better Brick Studios, and I'll see you next time.